Hello and welcome in episode 13, Bulldog Illustrated One-on-One with yours truly, Jeff Dantzler. We have a very special guest today, one of my all-time favorites, the College Football Hall of Famer himself, Coach Jim Donnan. And Coach, I know you're busy as you can be. I appreciate you taking some time to be with us here today. And, the first thing I wanted to ask you is, this is probably one you've gotten a million times. What made you want to get into coaching?
You know, when I was in playing football in high school and in college, I never really envisioned being a coach. I really went to NC State with hopefully to get into the textile business because I was from Burlington, and Burlington, you know, is kind of the hub of the world, and I knew a lot of people and had some pretty good job offers getting out of college. One of which was Sky offered me a job to go right into some pretty good management because I played tennis with him and he was kind of moving me up. But, I decided, though, that my head coach, who had been around for a long time, of all the people that was threatening him in the state was Bill Dooley, Coach Vince Dooley's brother, who had just taken a job at North Carolina. And really, I played in the first game that Coach Dooley ever coached in there at NC, and we were fortunate to beat him. But they were bringing in that SEC-style recruiting, and most of our coaches at State were older. And he asked me if I wanted to get into coaching and be a freshman coach and be a recruiter on the road half the time too, and, just kind of a new position. And I was married early, and I told my wife, I said, look, this is a chance for me to get into it. And if I don't like it, I can always fall back on the other job, and the rest is history.
And Coach, you mentioned being married. Your wife, Mary, is just a wonderful woman. You've got such a great family. Can you talk about what coaches' families have to go through, especially when things don't go well on a Saturday? And I would think the wife in particular, and then the kids are going to school. That old saying, excuse me, behind every great man is a great woman. Boy, that has to go double for coaching, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. The thing that every coach, I think one of the silver linings in this last 3 or 4 months has been the amount of time that these coaches could spend with their families, even though they're doing all these Zoom meetings and all that. But the extra time, usually, as you know, Jeff, and our fans out there, April and May, they're out on the road recruiting and they're out gone all the time. And just it's giving them a lot more time to be with their families, and particularly the younger kids who aren't, how do you explain to them where daddy is? I mean, he's out on the road recruiting and all that. So, but, and the other thing that's always been tough is moving your family. You got a good job and then you got a chance to move up. And we moved, I think, 7 times when, our kids were at different age levels. And my family's been a real rock behind me and supported me. And of course, Mary has been the ultimate coach's wife. There's no question about that. And really has, done a great job of working with the other wives, working with the community, all the things that you see in Mary Beth Smart do. You saw Catherine Rick and also Barbara Dooley. I mean, it's just part of the fabric of being a coach's wife.
Coach, you've had such great success. The ultimate honor being in the Hall of Fame, the national championship at Marshall, 4 trips to the title game, our great 10-2 team here, 4 straight bowl wins, and the national championship in Oklahoma for you too. And as your profile grew more and more, I'm sure the pressure grew more and more. Do you think back on your time maybe in the 70s when you were young and those days at Florida State, just starting out? I know you weren't making a ton of money and you had the young family, but that had to be some of your funner times at that point.
Well, no question. And one of the things that you and I talked about when we used to do our radio show every week, and I certainly miss that a lot because every week I look forward to kind of projecting what the season that week was going to be, and we'd tape those shows. And you'd tell me what we needed to do to win and what we needed to do to avoid and all, but behind the scenes. But you were pretty adept at that. But, I really did and was involved with no name dropping here, but I was with some really tremendous assistants, of which so many of us became head coaches, but we had that kind of vision. You know, we talked about what we would do, what we wouldn't do, who we'd try to get on our staff, all those things. And, you know, you met so many good people along the way that were alumni that you worked with that ended up being kind of like you, that had started out in a smaller company, but branched out and became a big CEO. And, you know, one of my players at Kansas State, who I never thought was going to be much of a anything but a good person, but I saw him in the airport when I was recruiting for, I think, Oklahoma, Marshall, and asked him what he's doing. He said he's working for UPS. I said, well, you did that when you were in Kansas State, didn't you? He said, yeah. I said, well, what are you doing now? He said, well, I'm the CFO of UPS for the outside the United States. And I mean, you just never know, but so many doctors, you know, that we've been involved with, and just coaches. And of course, having a chance this week to see that picture that you sent me of Kirby and Champ standing on the sideline together. I mean, the ultimate, you know, for Champ now, Hall of Fame in the pros, going to be in college, and then look what Kirby's done here. So it really, all of those guys had visions too, where they wanted to go and what they wanted to do.
Coach, your players, I know how much they mean to you. I know how much they've always meant. And after the draft, I was talking with Mary Beth for a little bit, and she was talking about how excited Kirby got, how excited the kids got, how excited she was. When you do see your players going, whether it's in football or the story you just told there, it's got to feel like one of your kids just hitting a home run to win the Little League championship there. And with, you know, just this week, that picture that we just talked about with Kirby and Champ standing together. Here's the head football coach at Georgia, one of your proteges, and another one of your players who just got inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame is about to be going to the College Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that there's so many difficult times for all of us right now, but the one thing that at my age and with my wife's situation, a health situation, the one thing, saving grace that I've had has been able to go over and watch a little bit of practice, or go over and just sit in the coach's office and talk to them, because, as you know, I'm a football junkie and I love to talk ball, and those guys put up with me, that's for sure. But at the same time, one of the good points is all these guys that have built up a pretty good cadre of players that come by my house and we just talk and all that. Not like somebody's here every day or every week, but, you know, like this morning I talked to Josh Millard for a little bit. I mean, this guy's doing a tremendous job helping people with personal protective gear and masks and all around the country. I mean, of course, he's making some money on it too, but he's doing a lot. He's giving a lot away to high schools and hospitals too. So things like that really make you proud.
And Coach, one of the things too, you talk about being proud with Champ going in the Hall of Fame. I certainly think two of the other great players that you coached, Hines Ward and Richard Seymour, are not too far behind him. And just what that means to everybody connected to the program, it's very special.
Well, you know, Georgia's got a rich history of guys making the Hall of Fame, and really goes back a long way. But, you know, I think when you look at what Richard was able to do there as a defensive lineman for Coach Belichick, a guy that could rush the passer but also stop the run and play a multitude of positions. And, of course, Hines, just the ultimate wide receiver, and from the standpoint he could certainly catch the ball and run with it after the catch and return punts and all that. But what a physical, tough kid he was. I mean, he would just knock your butt off. And we had, you know, we were always talking about who we were going to use for our yo-yo guy, or the guy would go in motion and come back and block the edge on the goal line. And he was tremendous. I saw that Georgia game that we had in that overtime a few weeks ago against Auburn, and what a block he made on the goal line. He and Selma Calloway paved the way for Robert Edwards. But he was just an unselfish guy that is all, you know, he got in the circle of honor. I think you were there that night, and he was just so proud of his heritage, of his mom, and what Georgia meant to him. And it means so much to me too. And that's part of the deal. You know, everybody said, hey, why didn't you get back and coach, and why didn't you do all this? But, after you've been to the mountaintop and won on a level like that we were able to do as assistant coaches and then at Marshall. And, we weren't able to finish it here. And it was always chapped me that we didn't get a chance to finish. But I think we laid a good foundation. And then I really didn't want to go start from scratch again and start over. And we love living here in Athens. And it's been very, Coach Rick was good about letting me hang around. I didn't go over there near as much as I do now. But got a lot of friends, among which hopefully are listening here, that know that it means a lot for me for Georgia to do well.
There's no doubt, Coach, and I always give you credit. You rebuilt the program and rebuilt the talent level here, and not to get too deep in the weeds, if replay would have been around, well, we'd beaten the enemy in 98 and 99, and who knows how things would have been different. But I know I very much appreciated when we won the SEC and the Sugar Bowl in 2002. Coach Rick gave you a lot of the credit for that, and I know you appreciated that.
Yeah, he did. But, that's one thing. Coach Goff left me some good players, too. That's what you're supposed to do
Right.
when you build the program up. And the biggest thing that we had going against us, Jeff, which we won't go over that long, but we came in here with the edge of people talking about us going on probation, which we did. And then we hit Florida and Tennessee at their zenith. I mean, that was the best teams they had at Tennessee, national champ in 98. Florida 96, and then Florida State was our biggest nemesis in recruiting, and South Georgia, and they won a national. Three of the 5 years I was here, our biggest rivals on and in recruiting, and Tech was tough too, won the ACC. So, but you got to beat those teams. I didn't beat them enough, and I understand that, but I wish he would have told me. If you're going to get fired, it's good to be fired with 3 years left on your contract. But when you turn down some of the jobs that I did, I certainly would have enjoyed going to continue coaching. But after the fact, it's nothing to talk about now.
Well, Coach, this is with Kirby being a great player for you, and I know you've been a terrific mentor for him. I am so happy that this has been a way for you to continue to be involved in the game. And we love football. You and I could sit there and talk and tell stories and just talk about the game, and I enjoy that. And I think that's another reason it's so important to get it back when the fall comes in. It brings everybody together. Sports is a great unifier, and it's a fantastic distraction and a release for so many people. Now we work in it, so it's a little bit different for us, but sports, and particularly college football here in the South, is just a vital way of life for so many people.
Exactly, and a way of livelihood for the community, and it supports the great sports like you do a tremendous job in women's basketball and baseball and all that you call, but they got to get some financial help from football too, and I worry about that, but when I finally stopped coaching and I did some games and all, I had occasion to maybe tailgate some with some of these fans, and people don't realize in coaching what tailgating's all about. I never knew what it was all about. I mean, I got left up there at Virginia Tech after the game one night because those guys had the police escort out of there, and I didn't get down there quick enough to get on it, and I got caught up in the crowd. I called Mary from the car. It took me 2 hours to get out of the parking lot. I said, "Do you have to do this your whole life? I mean, it took you 2 hours to get home?" She said, "Well, not that many, but a lot of times." So it's just a different thing. People don't realize sometimes what they got. And all of us have here, we've had such a good way of life, and now we're going to have to change. And but hey, if we change, we change. That's just part of it. We got to adapt and be careful and take care of each other.
Coach, before we let you go, amongst the many stories I love, and we'll obviously get you back on again, your days at Florida State. Now, you can tell me who I'm leaving. I know Coach Durham was there for basketball. You had, Don James, Bill Parcells. I mean, what a crew you guys had.
Yeah, Don had already left, and Joe Gibbs had left, but it was just Coach Peterson had just the who's who in coaches, Don Bro, all those guys, and then Larry Jones came in. But, I was in the same office with Bill Parcells for 2 years. It was just every day was just like, you never knew what he was going to come up with. He said, "I'll tell you what, period 14 today, I want you to look up there." He was a defensive coach and I was offensive coach. And we had these fields on levels, where one was a little higher than the other for irrigation. He said, look up there in period 14. He said, I'm going to start a fight with John Devlin today. I said, what are you talking about? He said, we're just not getting a very good pass rush. And he didn't know it, but I'm going to start a fight. But we won't come to blows. But so we found out he was saying, hey, you can't even get their ass to rush the passer. You can't get somebody. I'm going to get somebody else in there. And he didn't part. Of course, John Devlin bit on it like that, and he got right up in his face, and finally the players pulled him apart. But that's part of the deal that or he would do that. He'd say, hey, when we get on goal line today, he said, I'm going to jump on the offense because all you guys try to do is run all these trick plays on us. I said, why don't you just line up and try to Burma Road us one time? I said, everything's a little play action pass. So it was a lot of fun.
Hey, one of the things we like to talk about too, I've always loved the term fall camp, and you went through it for 40 years, but when you're in a place like Tallahassee or Athens or Gainesville in August for practice, that's a necessary evil, but it's about as far from autumn as you could possibly be.
Hey, let me just tell you this, and this is as factual as it could be. When we would get into meetings down there, we based practice on how long we thought the coaches could make it through practice because it was so hot and so humid. Of course, it was here too, but down there, I mean, it was unbelievably, and it would always rain sometime during the day, and just make it even humid. All right, that got that dog ready to hunt.
Yeah, so, Emily just walked in with lunch, and Albus got excited.
All right, but and you know the one story I never have told on. And I think I should tell it because you deserve it for this show is in when Coach Bear Bryant got ready to leave, the Giants were playing and they were going to be playing in St. Louis, and I was coaching at Missouri, and Ray Perkins was in line to get the job, and Parcells called me up. We were getting ready to play in the Holiday Bowl against BYU, and we had a little downtime. He said, can you come over and spend the night and come see me? I'd like to talk to you a little bit. I said, sure. It was great. I was going to watch the Giants play. I'd been involved in recruiting, Lawrence Taylor. I was going to get to see him, spend some time with him. It was fun. And so I got over there, and he said, I can't wait to tell you. He said, hey, Ray Perkins taking the Alabama job on Monday, and said, I'm going to get the New York Giants job. And, I was floored, and he said, and I want you to come, and you can't be the offensive coordinator because you hadn't been in the pro, but I'll train you. He said, we got a really good guy here, and you can learn. And then I want you to help coach the running backs and things like that. And the other thing, said, I got this young guy that's been helping me. It's a really good young coach. It works hard. It really does a good job with special teams, and it's helping me with the linebackers. But I want you to get in there and kind of help him and train him how to coach. I said, what's his name? He said, Bill Belichick. And so I said, hey. So I ended up, we decided we didn't want to move because, nothing against the New Jersey and all, but we had kids in school and all, and we just felt like it was important for us to stay there. And then the next year I got the Oklahoma job. But every time I see Belichick, which I don't see him that much, but I talk to him about recruiting and everything, and scouting and drafting. I said, you've done pretty well without the old coach trying to help you.
Oh, Coach, you're the best. We could go on here forever. They got us on a time limit, old Vance.
Okay, sorry about that. I didn't mean to.
No, Coach, we could go forever. You're the best. I love you and appreciate everything you've done for me and everything you've done for Georgia and so many people. And, of course, the only man I know to be a bowl game MVP and a conference singles champion in tennis, one of the all-time greats.
Well, I appreciate that, and appreciate all you do for everybody around there. Everybody in Georgia just counts on you to do so much, Jeff, and hope you and your wife are getting I don't know how she's put up with you. What are you, going on 3 years now or 2?
Yeah, 2. And plus, she had to teach from home, too, during all this, and I wasn't traveling with the baseball team. So,
hey, I understand that, but thanks for having me on.
All right, Coach, we love you. Thank you so much.
Love you, too.
The Hall of Famer, the one and only Jim Donnan. I'm Jeff Dantzler. Thanks for going one-on-one with us.